In this section, we'll look at the fascinating interplay between our expectations and our social behaviors. We'll explore how our preconceived notions can shape our interactions with others, leading to things like self fulfilling prophecies. We'll also examine the process of evaluating others, considering the various cues we rely on, and the potential biases that can distort our judgments. So imagine you're at a college party and your friend Alex tells you about someone named Jamie. Alex says, "Watch out for Jamie. They're super arrogant and always looking for attention." Well, you haven't met Jamie yet, but now you have this image in your head. So as you walk around, you finally spot Jamie, remembering what Alex said. You decide to keep your distance. And when Jamie approaches, you give a quick, uninterested hi and avoid eye contact. Well, Jamie, not being dense and sensing your cold vibe, rolls her eyes and walks away muttering something under their breath. You think, wow, Alex was right. Jamie is a jerk. But here's a twist. What if Alex was wrong? What if Jamie is actually a really nice person who just had a bad day? Your expectation of Jamie being arrogant influenced how you treated them, which in turn made Jamie act in a way that confirmed your expectation. And this is a classic example of a self fulfilling prophecy. It's an example of how belief, thought, and expectations can influence social environments. So, a self fulfilling prophecy is a prediction that causes itself to become true. And this phenomenon occurs when our beliefs or expectations about someone influence our behavior towards them, causing them to react in a way that confirms our original belief. It's like a loop where our thoughts shape reality and keep going. For example, maybe you were told that Dr. Chance's class is really hard and she's a really hard or difficult instructor. Well, now you expect Dr. Chance's class to be hard, and you come to class maybe unprepared and unmotivated. Being who Dr. Chance is, she notices that you're not prepared and you're unmotivated, and it's going to give you a hard time. Now, for you're confirming your initial thought that Dr. Chance is very hard. And this is just one example that shows how creating these vicious psychological cycles can be very difficult to break. Yet there is significant research in the area that supports this. And this is the Pygmalion or the Rosenthal effect. And if we apply it to the classroom dynamics, this phenomenon is in which teachers' high expectations of students lead to improved performance and achievement, while low expectations lead to worse outcomes and performance. And the reason that these thoughts can be so powerful and come to fruition is because the strength of our schemas. So recall in section one that these are based on our past experiences and knowledge, thus leading us to have certain expectations about people and situations. This can influence our behavior in a way that causes people around us to respond in a way that confirms our original expectation. Basically, we rely on our automatic thinking, and this is we're making our schemas come true by the way that we treat people sometimes. But they do not always have to lead to negative outcomes. By being more self aware and intentionally practicing controlled thinking techniques, we can create a positive feedback loop that can help us achieve our goals and live happier and more fulfilling lives. Some days that looks like improved academic performance, increased motivation and effort, improved mental and physical health, while other days that looks like getting out of bed and brushing our teeth. And if you told yourself that you're going to do that the best of your ability, then brush the hell out of your teeth and go back to bed. And this brings us to how we form impressions and evaluations of others. And before we jump into that, of course, take a few moments and look at this video shared. This is a video on the Pygmalion effect, and it emphasizes what we've just discussed in the previous slide. So, where do our preconceived expectations about ourselves and others come from? Personal experiences, culture, the media, social networks, peers, etc.? Well, this is concerning as they have such a strong influence on our social interactions and is indicated by the self-fulfilling prophecy, right? So, the initial judgments or perceptions that we form about individuals or groups, whether accurate or not, based on limited social interactions and information is a process referred to as impression formation. And we rely on schemas to fill in the gaps when we do not have all the information, sometimes leading to inaccuracies in judgment. But why do we care about first impressions? Well, first impressions last. For instance, the primacy effect argues that when someone experiences something before other things in a sequence, they remember the first thing more. Therefore, if you don't leverage first impressions correctly, people might get the wrong idea in their head about you. And to some extent, it may be unfair because we make judgments about people based on nonverbal behavior before they say a word, their appearance, their emotional expression, and so on. And once we have formed an impression of someone, it can be difficult to change our minds, even if we're presented with new information. And this is because our impressions are often based on automatic cognitive processes that are difficult to control. And we're constantly evaluating others through forming impressions and observing their behavior. We evaluate cues such as nonverbal behavior, emotions, microexpressions, and deception to form impressions of them. And some of these are easier than others. For instance, people often rely on nonverbal cues more than verbal communication in initial interactions. Furthermore, we learn about emotions from an early age and can recognize 6 basic emotions universally. For example, smiling is a nonverbal expression of happiness for the most part globally. However, there are some barriers to accurate evaluation. For instance, people are relatively good at lying, no shock there, but the average human is not very good at detecting when someone's lying. Research shows that the average person tells at least 2 lies per day, and this is because we hold a truth bias and inaccurate beliefs about deceptive behavior. Also, people sometimes suppress emotional expressions and reveal others as a coping mechanism. However, this sort of behavior can actually have a number of negative consequences for one's mental and physical health. One's social life is also bound to suffer, as it is next to impossible to keep up a facade for an extended period of time. And we're all social detectives, constantly gathering clues and trying to decipher the mysteries of human behavior. But our judgments can be influenced by biases, stereotypes, and errors in thinking. Furthermore, sometimes people try to mislead us. So be sure to check out this next clip of where humans are discussing lie detection abilities amongst each other. Now let's talk about attribution theory. So as we're forming impressions and evaluating others, we tend to come up with all sorts of ideas and explanations for behaviors. Consider this scenario. Let's say you're in a group working on a project, and you're in a group with someone named Sarah, and she consistently arrives late to your work sessions. Last night, she showed up 20 minutes late without any prior notice. In addition to her punctuality issues, she's been falling behind on her project contributions, often submitting her work at the last minute. And this has left the rest of the group frustrated and concerned about her commitment to the project. The group is now trying to understand why she's seemingly not carrying her weight. And this falls into the area of attribution theory, which explains how people will rationalize Sarah's behavior. As social animals, we are heavily compelled to want to know why people do what they do. Call it nosy, right? And we don't just make attributions for others' behaviors, but also for our own. Attributions can be internal, external, or a combination of both. Sometimes we blame people, and this means that we're suggesting it's an internal cause, that is, their disposition, their personality, or their character traits. Other times, we believe an external situation is causing the explanation, and this is based on factors in the surrounding environment. Now, again, due to the automatic nature of our thoughts associated with attribution, we have the tendency to overestimate the importance of internal factors and underestimate the importance of external factors when we explain people's behaviors. And this is what's called the fundamental attribution error. For instance, think about Sarah and your group project. If we view this from a dispositional lens, Then some group members might attribute Sarah's behavior to her personality traits, thinking she's naturally disorganized or inconsiderate of others' times. On the other hand, situationally, maybe Sarah's facing some personal challenges, such as a heavy course load, family responsibilities, part-time job, all of which may be causing her to struggle with time management and project contributions. And again, because we're prone to bias and error in our attributions, it should be as no surprise that we will misattribute the causes of our own behavior, such that we will imply more situational blame than dispositional, if it were us in Sarah's shoes specifically. But observers, which are those on the outside looking in, they will attribute the same behavior to internal or dispositional factors of the person under scrutiny. So again, this is referred to as the actor-observer effect or actor-observer bias. So if we're applying this to Sarah in the group, in this case, Sarah would be the actor. And we might attribute, and if asked, Sarah might attribute her tardiness to external factors such as family emergency or something beyond her control. She perceives her behavior as a situational response to an unexpected event. On the other hand, us, the observers, we tend to attribute her behavior to internal factors. We see her as chronically disorganized or indifferent to group commitments. We may think Sarah's excuses are just that, excuses, and believe that her behavior reflects her personality and lack of responsibility. Basically, we're all armchair psychologists trying to make sense of why people do what they do.
Regina, wait, I didn't mean for that to happen. To find out that everyone hates me, I don't care. Regina, please. Regina, stop! Do you know what everyone says about you? They say that you're a homeschooled jungle freak who's a less hot version of me. Yeah, so don't try to act so innocent. You can take that fake apology and shove it right up your hairy
And that's how Regina George died.
For instance, some would conclude that Regina deserved what she got, and that was the universe balancing it out based on her dispositional characteristics of being mean and manipulative, as she was essentially crashing out. However, situationally, Regina was an emotional wreck due to crashing out, and she was not paying attention to her surroundings. But the truth often lies somewhere between dispositional and situational factors. And this is known as an interactionist perspective, which suggests that behavior is the result of both internal dispositions, which includes things like personality traits and attitudes, and the external situational factors. So again, consider Sarah from a group project scenario. Her consistent lateness and last-minute submissions could be influenced by both dispositional and situational factors. Dispositionally, Sarah might have a personality trait of being disorganized or a tendency to procrastinate, and these internal characteristics could contribute to her behavior. Situationally, at the same time, Sarah might be dealing with external pressures such as a heavy course load and family responsibilities and work responsibilities. And these situational factors can also impact her ability to manage time and meet deadlines. And so procrastination leads her to start tasks late, and her job's late hours reduce the time she has to complete them, resulting in last minute submissions and tardiness, and the cycle continues. And in real life, understanding that behavior is influenced by the combination of both types of factors can lead to a more accurate and empathetic assessment of others. For example, if a friend is acting irritable, it might be due to their personality, but also because they're stressed about an upcoming exam, right? And the group's negative expectations and Sarah's internalized beliefs create a cycle where her behavior continues to meet the low expectations. She remains late and unprepared, which further confirms the group's initial beliefs. So, when evaluating behavior, it's important to consider both internal and external factors. This balanced approach can help avoid biases like the fundamental attribution error and lead to more nuanced and fair judgments. So let's recap the key takeaways from our discussion regarding the impact of expectations on behavior and evaluating others. First, we reinforce the concept of the self fulfilling prophecy, recognizing how our expectations can shape our interactions with others, leading to our outcomes that confirm our initial beliefs. And this highlights the importance of being mindful of our expectations and their potential influence on our behavior and the behavior of those around us. Second, we explore the process of impression formation, acknowledging that we often form impressions of others quickly based on limited information and nonverbal cues. It's crucial to be aware of the potential biases that can influence our impressions and strive to form more objective judgments. And third, we discuss the challenges of deception and emotional suppression, recognizing that people may not always express their true feelings or intentions. And this underscores the importance of paying attention to subtle cues and considering multiple perspectives when evaluating others. Fourth, we revisit the concept of attributions. We emphasize the importance of considering both dispositional and situational factors when explaining behavior. By avoiding biases like the fundamental attribution error, we can gain a more balanced and accurate understanding of social situations. And finally, we introduce the interactionist perspective, which emphasizes the interplay between internal dispositions and external situational factors in shaping behavior. This perspective encourages us to consider the complex interplay of factors that influence our own behavior and the behavior of others. And so, by integrating these key takeaways, we can develop a more nuanced understanding of how our expectations and evaluations shape our social interactions. And in the next section, we'll turn our attention to potential errors in human thinking that can lead to biases and misjudgments.